I think it would be very silly to embark this afternoon on discussions about the Labor Party leadership with an election this close. Don't you, Tom?
Yeah, I think so.
I want to say this, I am not convinced that the Labor Party would not win under my leadership. I believe that a drover's dog could lead the Labor Party to victory, the way the country is and the way the opinion polls are showing up for the Labor Party.
I'd had some inkling before that it was going to happen, so it was not a surprise to me.
That's how the Labor Party lost its leader today, clearing the way for Bob Hawke to take on Malcolm Fraser.
And the Prime Minister answered the challenge by declaring that the showdown would be on March the 5th.
The story of a day of political shocks and drama in Canberra and in Brisbane dominates tonight's bulletin. The federal election, and Australians will go to the polls in just 30 days' time, on March the 5th. The date of the election became official just on an hour ago and coincided with Bill Hayden's decision to stand down as leader of the Labor Party. The new ALP leader is almost certain to be Bob Hawke, and already the election is shaping up as a head-to-head clash between Prime Minister Fraser and Mr Hawke. Laurie Oakes begins this report on a day of political sensations.
Today's double political shock, the toppling of an opposition leader and the calling of a snap federal election at the same time, is unprecedented. But there's a feeling here in Canberra that Mr Fraser may have made the biggest miscalculation of his political life. By announcing a snap election, he'd planned to get in before Labor had time to dump Mr Hayden. He was sure that he could beat a Hayden-led ALP, not nearly so sure that he could beat Mr Hawke. But Mr Fraser appears to have overplayed his hand, virtually forcing Labor to make an immediate leadership change. Mr Fraser, according to Liberal sources, went to Government House to request a snap election, assuming that Mr Hayden wouldn't stand down. The Prime Minister had originally intended to announce the early election tomorrow, but he rushed in and now he faces the very situation he wanted to avoid. With Mr Hawke leading the ALP, Liberal strategists are not at all sure anymore that they can win this election that Mr Fraser thought would catch his opponents with their pants down. Ian McMinn has been covering the Prime Minister's announcement.
It was 20 minutes past 12 when the Prime Minister went to Yarralumla to deliver a letter to the Governor-General. In that letter, Mr Fraser asked that writs be issued for an election on March the 5th. However, Sir Ninian Stephen was lunching with the Polish ambassador, Mr Frankowitz, and his wife, and that apparently was more important than giving full attention to the Prime Minister's request. Mr Fraser did, however, speak with Sir Ninian for about 10 minutes. From that point, the media was told that the Prime Minister would be holding a press conference at 1 o'clock. However, a rather embarrassed Prime Minister came out of his office at 1:15, saying he still had not received official confirmation from Sir Ninian. Mr Fraser said it would be a short time, but the hours dragged on over the afternoon until finally Mr Fraser officially told the Australian public that they would soon be asked to go to the polls.
Mr. May I ask you a question? Given that this campaign could develop into you versus Mr Hawke, and given that Mr Hawke has a very high image within the Australian population, as indicated by a number of polls over many years, are you worried that you may not be able to beat him?
Not at all. And I think I've shown on many occasions that I'm not worried by polls. Australians will go to the substance of the issue. They have on previous occasions, and they'll go to the substance of this issue very quickly indeed. I said back in the winter, and you may not have agreed with me, but I said then that I thought that Mr Hayden would be a tougher man to beat than Mr Hawke. I still believe that.
But the key element of the campaign, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, is the wages pause. He says the ACTU and the Labor Party are making a concerted effort to break it. But today's developments in Canberra have been inextricably linked with those in Brisbane.
Mr Hawke is expected to be formally installed as the new leader at a caucus meeting next Tuesday, and already he's declared that he expects to be unopposed when the 79-member caucus meets. John Wiseman of our Brisbane newsroom reports that it became evident from early today that Bill Hayden's days as leader were numbered.
Bill Hayden knew his reign as Labor leader was over by the time he reached today's Labor executive meeting in Brisbane. He was 30 minutes late and had been locked in discussions with other senior MPs about his future. The executive meeting, meant to be a show-the-flag publicity boost for the party, developed instead into tense wrangling about the leadership. Throughout the morning, groups of Labor politicians left for private discussions, and Hayden's fate was sealed after a 90-minute meeting he had with Bob Hawke, Lionel Bowen and Senator John Button. His face told the story as he returned to inform the media he'd resign at a special Labor caucus meeting next Tuesday, that he'd sacrifice his chance to become Prime Minister for the party.
I didn't take this decision with any sense of joy, but it did seem to me as a matter of responsibility to my party
party in which I have great faith, which I believe has an historic mission. But the situation confronting us was that there was an inevitable conflict coming up in the caucus. At best, I could win by only a very narrow margin, and I do not rule out the possibility that I could have won such a contest by a narrow margin. It would have been unconvincing to the community and would have resolved nothing. At worst, and most likely, there would have been a rather nasty brawl within the caucus involving debate, heated, personal perhaps, which would have led to divisions and tensions being generated in the caucus, which would have been totally unproductive. There would have been divisions, in fact, in the process of deciding the matter. In all of the circumstances, I had to weigh up what was the best interest of the party, and there are some occasions where people have to be prepared to make sacrifices, no matter how fair or unfair, right or wrong one might think they are. One must do what one thinks is best in all of the circumstances. The circumstances, as I saw them, had developed to the point where there's only one way to resolve the problem, and that was to take the action which I announced to the parliamentary shadow cabinet, Labor Party shadow cabinet today, I'd take next week at that special meeting. I want to say this, I am not convinced that the Labor Party would not win under my leadership. I believe that a drover's dog could lead the Labor Party to victory, the way the country is and the way the opinion polls are showing up for the Labor Party. In that respect, I have every confidence about the party's prospects. I repeat, it gives me no joy to have to do this, and I'm sure you'd understand. It's created a great deal of heartburn for me. It's not a decision that I would have preferred. In fact, as recently as Sunday, I was still determined to fight the matter out, but it was increasingly clear to me that if I did that, I would be guaranteeing great damage to my own party and a return of the Fraser government at the cost of my own personal interests. And I'm afraid my motivation goes beyond that. So thank you. Mr. Hayden's composure broke slightly as he left the news conference to some muted applause from party members. Emotions overcame other party members once the announcement had been made. Sometime later, Deputy Leader Lionel Bowen emerged to clear up questions surrounding Mr. Hayden's parliamentary future and to praise his decision.
The Executive recognises that his resignation involves considerable personal sacrifice. Bill Hayden has put the Labor Party and the people of Australia represents above his own personal political interests. The Executive is pleased to know that Bill Hayden will accept a senior shadow portfolio and upon the election of a Labor government will be a senior minister in that government.
Mr. Bowen refused to answer questions about possible leadership contenders other than Bob Hawke, nor what effect the leadership change would have in the midst of an election campaign. Labor politicians only learned of that possibility moments before Mr. Hayden's announcement today. An hour later, Bob Hawke appeared to say he expected to be the only contender.
I would indicate that I will be a candidate for the leadership of the Labor Party when the caucus meets on Tuesday, and as I understand at this stage, I would not be opposed.
Mr. Hawke, what chance to give the ALP in the election campaign now that you're changing leaders within the campaign and will in fact be without a leader for 5 days?
We will not be without a leader for 5 days. Bill remains the leader of the party until Tuesday, and we'll have a leader after that. And the answer to your question is what do I think about the campaign? It's very simple. We will win it.
Mr. Hawke is Australia's most popular political figure, and the ALP's prospects of achieving government now hinge on that popularity being translated into votes at next month's election. It's the acid test for Bob Hawke, with no time to settle into the leadership post. John Wiseman, Eyewitness News.
Well, just how popular is he? With Bob Hawke now virtually assured of the top Labor job comes the question of whether he would make a good Prime Minister. And tonight, you get your say. We've organised a special news vote, and the question we're simply asking is, who would make the better Prime Minister, Bob Hawke or Malcolm Fraser? If you want to vote for Malcolm Fraser, then call 11550. Your call will be automatically recorded. But if you want to vote for Bob Hawke, dial 11553. Your calls will be automatically registered on this telecom-approved machine in our newsroom. And remember, the number of calls shown on the machine has to be multiplied by 10. And we'll be monitoring the progress of our news vote, which runs for 12 hours.
And I'm sure, David, that with the speculation that's preceded this announcement of the election, there'll be a lot of viewers who will be keen to record their views. So we'll see how that progresses during the bulletin. Also, later on in the bulletin, we'll have more reaction to Mr Hayden's decision to resign as leader of the Labor Party. In other reports, 2 men are to be charged over the Mount Macedon fires.
And film of a major bushfire which is still burning at Cain River.
It was a disturbing time that divided and changed the face of Australia. The dismissal, coming soon exclusively to 10.
Call 11550 if you think Malcolm Fraser should stay in the nation's top job. But if you think Bob Hawke would be better, then you can call 11553. Let's check on how your calls are going, and as you can see there, Bob Hawke in this poll is well in the lead. 5,740 to Malcolm Fraser, 3,000 just turned over. And we'll have further progress reports just before this bulletin ends.
Thank you, David. Reaction to Mr Hayden's decision to resign has been varied. According to Clyde Cameron, a former minister in the Whitlam government, Mr Hawke will lead the Labor Party to a landslide win in the election. But other senior Labor men and some union chiefs aren't so sure. They see today's leadership drama as further damaging Labor's chances. In Melbourne, Premier John Cain said he admired Mr Hayden for his decision. Ian Gillespie spoke to Mr Cain for this report.
Our state government leaders have been running from room to room today, trying to keep in touch with today's dramatic developments. The Premier, Mr Cain's reaction was that the Prime Minister's shot at an early election may well ricochet back in his face. And on the Labor leadership, Mr Cain seemed to stop short of giving his full personal support for Mr Hawke, saying he'd be happy with any leader.
I'm happy with anybody that takes this party to victory at the next federal poll. We can do some things at the state level. We can't do everything. What's required is a federal Labor government. We're going to get it, whether it's Mr Hawke or whoever the party chooses on Tuesday.